Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. So if you want to know what time it is right now, or even just what day it is, what do? You probably just glance at your smartphone, right? In a split second, you're tapping into this massive network of satellites orbiting the Earth, giving you perfectly synchronized digital time. But I want you to imagine completely erasing all of that. Let's rewind roughly 2,000 years. No phones, no clocks, definitely no calendars pinned to a wall. For our ancestors, the ultimate, undeniable timepiece was the landscape itself. It was the exact position of the sun. It was the specific mountain peak where the morning light broke, and the way the shadows stretched across the soil.
And that brings us to the absolutely fascinating subject of today's explainer, the Ikushima Tarushima Shrine. We're going to explore a place where astronomy, ancient earth worship, and raw human survival all intersect in the most profound way imaginable. This isn't just a story about a building. It's a story about how early humans mapped their entire existence onto the literal dirt beneath their feet and the stars up above their heads.
Here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the ancient solar calendar. Second, worshiping the Earth itself. Third, Shioda Plain's sacred light path. Fourth, warlords protecting the land. And finally, an eternal living landscape. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The Ancient Solar Calendar. To really understand this shrine, we have to step into the mindset of the people who lived in the Shioda Basin millennia ago. You know, in a world without clocks, the sun was the absolute ruler of human life. It didn't just tell time, it dictated your survival. In spring, the sun's position signaled it was time to get seeds in the ground. By the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rose farthest north, and the land was just bursting with life. Autumn brought the harvest of golden rice. But look at the winter solstice. The sun rises furthest south, making it the shortest day of the year. For ancient people, this wasn't viewed as the end of the world or some time of despair. Actually, it was the exact opposite. It was the crucial turning point. It was a day of profound hope, because from that day forward, the sun would begin its long journey back, bringing new light and new life.
Now, this deep reverence for the sun's cycle wasn't just a local phenomenon in Japan, it's a universal human instinct. Just like the ancient people in England who built Stonehenge, or in Ireland building Newgrange, or those incredible temples in Central and South America that were perfectly aligned to the cosmos, the early inhabitants of Japan inherently linked the sun to survival. You even see this crystallized in Japanese mythology with Amaterasu, the great sun goddess. Humans everywhere have always looked up to understand their place down on the ground.
Section 2. Worshipping the Earth itself.
So, we've looked up at the massive cosmos. Now let's zoom all the way in, down to the dirt. There are roughly 80,000 Shinto shrines across Japan, and the vast majority of them worship a specific, tangible feature of nature. Think a towering mountain, a rushing river, a giant boulder, or an ancient massive tree. But the Ikushima Tarushima Shrine is incredibly rare. The object of worship here isn't a mountain or a tree. It's the ground itself. The literal, bare earth underneath the main hall is the sacred object. The building doesn't exist to hide the earth, it literally exists just to protect its sanctity.
So, understanding exactly what's being worshipped here is absolutely crucial. The shrine is dedicated to two inseparable deities, or basically forces of nature. Ikushima represents the island or land where life is actively born and nurtured. And Tarushima represents the fulfilled, solid, unwavering earth that actually sustains and supports that life. You just can't have one without the other. You can't have life without the solid ground to hold it up.
And the architecture of the shrine perfectly reflects this reverence. The main sanctuary sits on an island surrounded by a pond. This water acts as a timeless psychological and physical boundary. When you cross the bridge over that water, you aren't just taking a few steps. You are making a very deliberate transition from the chaotic, everyday human world into a deeply sacred, divine space where the earth itself is the main character.
Section 3. Shioda Plain's sacred light path.
So, why was this specific spot of dirt chosen to bridge the power of the sun and the earth? As this quote explains, it has everything to do with topography. The Shioda Basin is completely surrounded by mountains on all sides. This made it a perfect, giant natural observatory. Over generations, ancient people could stand in this valley and continuously, accurately track exactly where the sun was rising and setting along those mountain ridges throughout the entire year.
And the way the shrine captures this is nothing short of an ancient architectural marvel. Notice how on the morning of the summer solstice, the day of maximum life and light, the rising sunlight aligns perfectly with the shrine's east torii gate, Conversely, on the evening of the winter solstice, the major turning point of the year, the sun sets directly beyond the west torii gate. The architecture permanently captures the eternal rhythm of the cosmos.
Now, this solar alignment doesn't just happen in isolation. It anchors what is now a recognized Japan heritage story known as a ley line. But in this context, a ley line isn't some mystical magic beam. It's a profound cultural narrative of how different belief systems map themselves onto this perfect natural observatory.
Just look at the sheer diversity of the sacred sites along this line in Shioda Daira. You've got the Ikushima Tarushima Shrine, but you also have Buddhist sites like Shiono Kokubunji from the Nara period, Mayamaji, Chuzenji, Shiono Shrine, Kitamuki Kanen, and Onrakuji. Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples literally share this landscape completely without conflict. They're united by a shared, ancient reverence for the natural landscape and the light that touches it.
Section 4. Warlords protecting the land.
During the 15th and 16th centuries, the Warring States period, this serene valley was plunged into intense violence. Which begs a major question. Why did legendary, often completely ruthless samurai commanders go out of their way to fiercely protect a peaceful agricultural shrine dedicated to dirt and sunlight? It kind of seems like a total paradox, right?
Well, let's look at the actual history here. We have some of the most famous warlords in Japanese history actively funding the sanctuary. Takeda Shingen, the famed general of Kai province, didn't just pray here, he donated territory and issued official documents protecting the shrine. The genius tactician Sanada Masayuki, famous for his incredible victories at Ueda Castle, deeply revered this earth shrine, and his son, Sanada Nobuyuki, carried that fierce protection right into the peaceful Edo period. Why did these men of war care so much about a shrine of agriculture?
The answer lies in this incredibly powerful quote. For a warlord, land wasn't just territory. It was where crops grew, people lived, and provisions were born. To lose the land was to lose the country. These commanders were brilliant strategists. They understood a very fundamental truth. Military power means absolutely nothing if your armies starve. A sword cannot feed a soldier. The earth does. By protecting the shrine, they were paying the ultimate respect to the very soil that allowed their domains to exist in the first place. Ultimately, though, while the samurai warlords defended it on paper, the shrine never truly belonged to the men of war. Its heartbeat was sustained by the nameless peasants, the travelers walking the roads, and the families praying for a peaceful, fruitful life. The warlords were just a small part of a much larger circle of prayer that relied on the turning of the seasons for survival.
And finally, Section 5. An eternal living landscape.
Zooming all the way out, it is so important to understand that Ikushima Tarushima is not a ruin. It is not a static museum with artifacts behind glass showcasing a dead past. It is an active, breathing part of the local community. People still walk across that bridge to celebrate new births, to pray for health, and to express gratitude, continuing a rhythm of life that's been unbroken for over 1,000 years.
So, the absolutely crucial point to take away from all of this is the profound philosophy this ancient site imparts to us today. It reminds us that humans are an intricate part of nature. We are not above it. We are actively, physically sustained by the soil beneath our feet, and we rely entirely on the eternal cycle of the sun. Even the most powerful warlords eventually realize that wealth, armies, and political power are completely secondary to the sheer, life-giving force of the earth.
Human empires rise and they fall. The warring states ended, castles crumbled, and towering skyscrapers were built in their place. But through it all, every single day, the wind blows through the trees at the shrine, the water flows under the bridge, and the sun rises in the east and sets in the west over the Shioda Daira basin, entirely unbothered and unchanged by the passage of human history.
Which leaves us with this final thought. In our hyper-connected age of smartphones, artificial intelligence, and satellites, we are arguably more disconnected from the physical ground than ever before. What fundamental truths about our own existence might we rediscover if we took a moment to walk an ancient path of light, put away the screens, and simply listen to the earth? Thanks for joining me on this explainer. I hope it gave you a whole new way to look at the world right beneath your feet.